Hey, what's up, YouTube? How's it going? This is Adrian at Insomnia Records, and today I will be discussing a haul I got from a boutique label who just had a really cool sale. There have been some interesting sales going on in the boutique label realm. Arrow Video, I think, actually had two recently, two sales, or maybe it's just one and it just kind of like extended and I thought it was two. But whatever, I picked up some really cool stuff from Arrow. Kino Lorber had their sale. I picked up some really cool stuff from Kino Lorber. And Criterion Collection had one of their 24-hour flash sales, which I usually miss, and not on purpose. So usually, like, for some reason, it'll come and go, and I won't even be aware of it until after the fact, and I'm like here kicking myself. But this time out, somebody gave me a heads up, asked me if I was going to get anything, and so I had a day in advance to kind of like look over the list and prepare, and kind of like, okay, let me see what we're going to get here. So this time I took advantage of the sale, and it was great. I'm glad that I was able to pick up five titles that actually I don't remember all five that are in this box. So that's actually kind of cool because it'll be a surprise for both of us, right? But I know that some of them in here, I remember when I was picking these out, I was like, okay, these are great because these are titles that I have put back on more than one occasion during those Barnes and Noble sales where you go in there with a game plan and like, okay, I'm gonna get this, and this, and you write it on a list or you make a mental note of it or whatever, and you get there and you're so overwhelmed by seeing the entirety of the collection right in front of you that all that kind of goes out the window for the time being because you're in the moment and you're just kind of like grabbing stuff and checking out the new releases, and like you see like this gap filler that like, oh wow, I forgot it. I should really get that, or some obscure one that you never see out in the wild, and all of a sudden there's a copy there. It's like, oh wow, this is cool to see this in the wild. I never see this one. Maybe I should pick it up. This is a sign I should get this one. There's all kinds of stuff that happens like that. So if you can relate, definitely hit me up in the comments about that sort of thing. But on more than one occasion, I passed a couple of these by because you make your big stack, your master stack of all the ones you want, and then that gets dwindled down to like, okay, this is definites, these are maybes, and these are getting put back this time. So a couple of these ended up in the going back this time pile, and so I'm glad that I picked them up because there's always that gnawing thing in the back of my mind that I call like the Harold and Maude effect, where I was like, okay, I want to get Harold and Maude, and then by the time you actually get around to getting it, it's out of print, and then I'm not going to go on eBay and spend $100 on a copy of Harold and Maude. Or Rosemary's Baby or whatever. I mean, I have Rosemary's Baby, but it's that kind of thing, right? Where you think like, oh, it's the Criterion Collection. Their license is probably for years, and you don't really keep track of it. You just think it's always going to be there. And like some girl that you took for granted, all of a sudden she's gone, and like now you want her more than ever before, And so that's kind of like what happens with some of these Criterions. They're like these white whales, and like, oh man, I can't believe I missed out on last year at Marienbad, or like I said, Harold and Maude, or Nashville, or any of these elusive titles that weren't as attractive as they are when they go out of print. And that says a lot about our consumer culture and how our minds work and stuff like that, right? So, but that's like a whole other video. But anyway, I got these to avoid that because something like my spidey senses were tingling. Is like, oh, maybe you should pick these up because you never know how long they've been in print. Maybe next time they won't be around. So get them now while you can. It's a 24-hour flash sale. Just get them. Okay, so anyway, I'm kind of like going off on a tangent there, but I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, in this box that's been sitting on my living room floor for about a week, I have not opened it because I wanted to make this video to unbox it in front of you, and I figured if I opened it, it would derail my progress in making a video, and I would procrastinate and self-sabotage, and my life would go down the tubes, and I would never make another YouTube video again. And so I'm so glad I waited. Anyway, this is the box I got from the Criterion Collection. Let's open it now and find out what's inside and talk about these cool flicks. Okay? All right. All right, awesome. All right, cool. All right, we're off to a good start. Criterion, props to you. Respect for putting the air cushions in here. I'm a reseller myself, so I'm very meticulous when it comes to the packaging. It's very important. So I always I always enjoy seeing something that's properly packaged for shipping. So let's get these air pockets out of here. And that's okay. Here we go. The one on top is one of those that I forgot that I picked up, but I'm very happy to see it at the top of the stack here. I have been wanting to see this movie for a long time, and it's just one of those that like, oh, next time. It falls into the category I was just talking about. The movie I'm talking about here is Around Midnight, featuring jazz legend Dexter Gordon, with a score by Herbie Hancock. This movie was made in 1986 by Bertrand Tavernier. So, let me see. Basically, what this movie, from what I understand, this movie has Dexter Gordon playing a jazz musician, a jazz veteran, who has made the rounds in the New York scene and now is in Paris, kind of like trying to cash in on his legendary status overseas, as many of these musicians do, not only in the jazz world but in the rock world and all, every other kind of genre, American music genre, where whenever things start to fizzle out, they go overseas and they kind of revive their career. Or in certain cases, like there's certain musical acts that didn't hit the radar in America and then went overseas and like made it big in Japan, and then all of a sudden, because they made it big in Japan, they're like they have like a newfound fame in the United States, like Cheap Trick. Cheap Trick is one of those bands. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. I'm talking about Cheap Trick, and we were talking about Round Midnight by Dexter Gordon. It's a stream of consciousness, man. But anyway, basically what this movie's about, I'm just looking at the synopsis. I've never seen this, so what I'm getting from this is like there's somebody in it stars Dexter Gordon as the main guy, the jazz musician, and then there's someone else that is kind of like a fan of his, someone who's coming around to like check out his performances, kind of like a fanboy. And Dexter Gordon is falling on hard times because he's an addict, which is true, true of many musicians, especially the bop musicians of the jazz era. Were all notorious drug addicts, namely heroin addicts. So I don't know if that's the case here, but this guy is a jazz veteran, kind of like, over the hill, past his prime, in Paris, still able to, play and perform and everything, but dealing with the monkey on his back, the ravages of having a drug addiction. So it looks like here that they form some kind of an unlikely friendship. And I'm curious to see what becomes of this friendship. Like, what's the backstory of this friendship? Like, is it Dexter Gordon kind of like taking advantage of a fan by manipulating him, or like getting money from him, or what? Like, that's the first thing that comes to mind, though. What's the angle here? What's the hustle, right? So this should be really cool, man. And I'm looking forward to checking it out. I love the Criterion attention to detail as far as the cover design, being very reminiscent of the way that Blue Note Records does their packaging, from the color sequences, the color, just the colorways here, and the fonts. Very cool attention to detail in terms of how Blue Note presents their records. So that really gives it a great aura, a great vibe just from the start. So I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing this. I'm sure it's going to be great. Dexter Gordon is a fantastic jazz saxophonist. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. If not, I highly recommend you check out Dexter Gordon's work. And also, he's an actor here, so I'm sure he's plenty of speaking parts. And if you've ever seen an interview with him, he's very charismatic. He has this like really raspy, smoky voice, like he's been smoking cigarettes since birth, and he's a real character, like just like a lot of these musicians are, especially the jazz guys. So this looks solid all around. Can't wait to watch it, and I'll let you know what I think of it. So let's go on to the next flick in this stack, and it looks like the next one in this one is Medium Cool, starring Robert Forster. And to be honest, this was one that I picked just during like the flash sale, just looking at the list. I had seen it out in the wild. I had seen it, in the stacks at Barnes and Noble, and it didn't really hit me. In that time, amongst these other movies, this one really didn't stick out to me. And it's not until recently that I saw One Battle After Another, the Paul Thomas Anderson flick, that I saw like, oh, like, the connection between this one and that one. Not that there's a connection, but like it's in the same wheelhouse. Again, like, that's how I operate. Like, if I get on a tangent with movies, I like to really immerse myself in that sort of film and that genre or subgenre of film, and I like to check out as much of it as I can to really immerse myself in that world. So after seeing One Battle After Another and being surprised at how good it was, because I had heard so many weird mixed reviews about it, how it was woke and it was garbage, and Paul Thomas Anderson, what are you doing? And then he won 6 Oscars. Not that I really care about the Oscars, because the Oscars have really fallen off, but just that weird dichotomy of like, this sucks, but it won 6 Oscars. Like, so, and I like Paul Thomas Anderson. I really like his movies a lot. So, like, okay, I got to check it out to see him for myself. And I'm glad I did, because I'm a big fan of Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm a big fan of Benicio del Toro, Sean Penn. There was a lot of reasons for me to check this movie out. And it did have woke stuff in it, but it was presented in a way that was very palatable and very fair and very just realistic, okay? And it was a great movie, and I highly recommend anybody that hasn't seen it to watch it. I actually ended up watching it twice because it was on streaming, and so to really get the most out of it, I watched it twice. I felt like watching it twice, and I saw some weird parallels to Star Wars, which is bizarre, right? But I did see some weird parallels between One Battle After Another and Star Wars, and I really don't want to go too deep into it, because that could be like another video unto itself. But if any of you out there saw One Battle After Another and know what I'm talking about, or kind of relate to it, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on that weird, unlikely parallel to Star Wars. So it just goes to show, it's such a classic movie, that hero's journey, that maybe Star Wars has now become like a classic template for other movies, which is not a bad thing, but I was surprised to see that. Anyway, One Battle After Another, that's a whole other thing, but that's what kind of like, okay, I want more of this. So Medium Cool just stuck out to me. So, and it stars Robert Forster, who I really like. He really never got his due, man. You know what I mean? He was a really cool actor. He's, he wasn't all like Marlon Brando, you know what I mean? But he definitely had a presence, and he definitely brought something to the roles that he was cast for. Namely, the one when Tarantino cast him in Jackie Brown, and also his brief appearance in David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. But he's been in a ton of stuff. So anyway, this movie here, I've never seen this. Again, all blind buys. So this, from what I can tell, it's kind of like a mix of fictional storytelling and pseudo-documentary film. And let me read here. What is it? So yeah, like Robert Forster here plays the TV cameraman, and it's a visceral cinematic snapshot of the era, climaxing with an extended sequence shot right in the middle of the riots surrounding the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Now that's really interesting subject matter, and so from what I understand here, this is actually actual footage of the riots during the DNC in Chicago, plus mixed with like the fictional storytelling of this film. And I'd really like to see how they, how seamlessly they put these two types of storytelling together to make one cohesive film. I've heard a lot of great stuff about this, so because I'm on like a kind of like a political, socio-political bent after seeing One Battle After Another, I'm going to see this and look forward to seeing what it holds in store, how great it is. I'm sure it's going to be great. Something just tells me that it has. There's just like a real sleeper hit, right? Like a real banger. Even though I kind of overlooked it before, but. There's other really cool Criterion political movies that could be another video altogether too. I just got to brush up on it. I know I have some of these flicks. I'm not going to go into that tangent right now, but that just kind of sparked an idea. Anyway, that's that. So far we got Round Midnight and Medium Cool. So far we're on a roll. These are, so far I am not regretting any of these picks, okay? So let's go on to the next one. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is one that I put back on more than one occasion. And I don't know. I really don't understand why. And every time I put it back, I kind of like, should I put that one back? Like, I really wanted to see that. But here it is. I finally have it. And I'm really, really stoked to finally watch this movie. I'm a big fan of Nicholas Ray. He's made so many great movies, and this one I'm sure is no exception. I'm a huge fan of James Mason also, and this movie I'm talking about here is called Bigger Than Life, and it looks like the unraveling of James Mason, as a result of being put on some kind of weird pharmaceutical drug. Let me look at the synopsis real quick just to kind of like fill you in. Okay? It's recognized now, though ignored at the time of its release, Nicholas Ray's Bigger Than Life is now recognized as one of the great American films of the 1950s. So, and that's why it's giving off kind of weird, like, Lynchian vibes, because I always thought, like, the way that this is presented had, like, some kind of weird, like, pseudo-proto David Lynch type vibes, and now I can see why, because it's the 1950s. And so David Lynch was so good at having that idyllic Americana, ideal Americana backdrop to his films, which, like, the underlying, sleaziness always kind of shone through. And so I think that this has like parallels to like kind of like David Lynch vibes. I'm hoping so, because I'm, as you know, if you watch the channel, I'm a huge David Lynch fan. So this looks like it could possibly have those types of those connections, right? So anyway, he's like a friendly, successful suburban teacher and a father, James Mason, and one of his most indelible roles is prescribed cortisone for a painful and possibly fatal affliction. Grows dangerously addicted to the experimental drug, resulting in his transformation into a psychotic and ultimately violent household despot. Man, this looks really good, and it was filmed in CinemaScope, which should really visually be great. An excoriating take on the nuclear family. Man, okay, so yeah, again, I'm so glad I finally have this. And this was one of the ones that I was worried about with the Harold and Maude type of thing. Like, oh, when I actually finally, pull the trigger on this, it's going to be gone. So I'm glad I got it when I did. And now that I read the synopsis more closely, I'm very, very happy. I think I'm actually watched this one first. Just because of the way I described it, like the whole David Lynch thing. That it's just kind of like, it's just the aura of this is so David Lynch right now. So this might be the top of the stack. So the next flick I got in here, let's see what I got in here. Okay. So this one, I confess, I don't know anything about. I kind of like saw it, and the title of it was intriguing, okay? But I never really like thought much of it, and then I like, okay, what is it? What is this movie? It looks so weird, and the title of it, I know it's not made in Japan. The movie I'm talking about is called Japón, which is Japan in Spanish. So I'm like, why is this called Japan? And why is it in Spanish? And what's with this weird cover? Like, there's so many. It's very intriguing, right? I was very like intrigued by the way this movie was presented. And then I started like reading some Letterboxd reviews about it. And then as soon as I saw more than a few mentions of Andrei Tarkovsky and the way that this movie is filmed and like the cinematography of it, then it really piqued my interest because I love Andrei Tarkovsky. So basically, this movie, I mean, there's also other aspects of it which also piqued my interest. So basically, this is a debut by Carlos Regados, right? This is the director, Carlos Regados, and he basically, it has to do with someone who travels from Mexico City to an isolated village to commit suicide. Okay. Once there, however, he meets a pious elderly woman whose quiet humanity incites a reawakening of his desires. Right? So if I'm getting this right, like this guy is suicidal. He's he's really like reached the end of his rope, and he goes to this like remote place in what looks like a jungle type of setting, or definitely not urban, and he falls for like this old woman, and they start some kind of love affair. So already kind of very interesting, very just left field, and the Tarkovsky thing. I'm very very interested in seeing how this one plays out, and I don't know anything about it, and but it says really cool stuff, man. It's also made filmed in 16 millimeter CinemaScope. So sorry for like the pauses and everything. I'm just kind of trying to get a grip of what the synopsis is about. It's very interesting and very like just offbeat, but I'm here for it. I love that. He's conjuring a psychic landscape where religion mingles with sex, life coexists with death, and the animal and spiritual sides of human experience become indistinguishable. A work of soaring ambition and startling visual poetry. Japón is an existential journey through uncharted cinematic territory that established the singular voice of its director. Now, there's some word salad going on there, yeah? But what I'm thinking this could be is maybe this guy goes on some kind of like ayahuasca, altered states type of expansion of consciousness, and kind of reconnects with life and his purpose, and I'm really interested in seeing like what this love affair is between him and this pious elderly woman. So leave it to Criterion to like dig one of these crazy movies up. I am so interested in seeing what this movie holds in store. So I will keep you informed. If any of you have seen this, please, no spoilers, yeah? But hit me up in the comments if you've seen this movie. This has never ended up on anybody's list. Nobody in the Criterion closet that I've seen has ever pulled this or talked about it. So this is like the blindest of blind buys in this stack right here, man. So let's see. I'm hoping for the best. It looks very promising. Looks very cool. All right, so now we have one flick left, right? And I really like, now that I'm looking at it, because like I told you in the beginning of the video, I kind of forgot. It was like, it was sitting on my floor for a week. I kind of forgot some of the titles in here. So I'm really happy with these choices so far. Now I have one left at the bottom of this box. And this was one that I had put back on more than one occasion also. And I regretted putting it back because I was like, oh man, I should have got that one. Not because I thought it would go out of print, but just like, it looked cool. But I guess it just didn't make the stack. It didn't hit the mark, but this time it did. So I'm glad I picked it up. It's a French film, and it's a film by Jean-Jacques Beigneux. I hope I said that right. Jean-Jacques Beigneux, and it was made in 1986, which is like a really great year for movies, man. And the more I see movies from 1986, I really should kind of like hone in on the year 1986 and what came out in that year to really see how great it was. Because I know Blue Velvet came out around that time and a lot of other ones. So anyway, the film I'm talking about here is Betty Blue. So the Betty Blue, this actually has, from what I understand, is like the extended cut, which is 3 hours. Yeah, 185 minutes, 3 hours and 5 minutes. So I don't know how that would differ from the commercial release, but this has the extended cut of 3 hours and 5 minutes. So apparently what this movie is about is a tempestuous woman named Betty, played by Beatrice Dalle, in a magnetic breakout performance. So I guess this is her first movie, okay? So there's it takes place in like a French beach town, and it's the beginning of a whirlwind love affair between her and this dude. And she I think what happens is like she gets mad at him and kicks him out, and then she finds some of his writings, and she like figures out, or she like thinks like, oh my god, this guy's like some amazing undiscovered writer. And so she becomes enamored by, or infatuated, or whatever, spark that was lit becomes relit by her discovery of how deep this guy's writing was. And so they begin this like really hedonistic, sexually charged love affair. And not to go into too much detail, again, I have never seen this movie. There's 3 hours of it to watch here, but I've been interested in it before, and I've checked it out before, and I've like kind of read up on it. So what happens here is this chick is slowly losing her grip on reality and falling prey to a mental illness, and at the same time these two people are falling deeply in love with each other. So there's a little bit of everything in this movie from what I gather. I'm gathering this movie is going to have like like funny moments, really, really deep moments, really dramatic moments, a lot of like hedonistic moments, and some kind of like bittersweet, sad moments. I don't know how it ends. I have no idea. But I think this is one of those movies that in the 3 hours, it's going to be a roller coaster ride of different emotions and different vibes. So I'm very much looking forward for this one. And that's the end of my stack. And I'm really stoked on these, man. As a recap, around midnight, medium cool, bigger than life, top of the stack, baby. Bigger than life. I'm looking forward to this one. Japón, the mysterious ayahuasca, gilf seduction masterpiece, and Betty Blue. She needed the money. All right, so thank you so much for watching my videos and putting up with my ramblings and incoherence. I always do these off the cuff. I'm not scripted. I don't take any notes. I just kind of like talk about movies. So I'm so glad to see you back. If you haven't subscribed, please do. This is still a new channel, and subscribing really does help me a lot. Liking the video helps it a lot as well. Hit me up in the comments, talking, just with your thoughts on these choices, or any recommendations you could make for the next flash sale that you think I might enjoy based on these choices. Basically, just hit me up to talk about movies. I always enjoy that. So anyway, thank you again. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Keep watching movies. Later, man.